Welcome to the Haunted Hangover podcast. I'm Louie, and I'm joined by Sam.
Hello.
And Chris.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking Boy Meets World, one of Chris's favorite shows. I'm doing this for you, Chris.
So pumped.
This is an episode for Chris because Chris loves this show so goddamn much.
Maybe one of my all-time favorite TV shows.
I didn't even know that. This is my first time hearing this.
One of my all-time favorite shows ever.
That's crazy.
Ever.
It's crazy that I never knew that.
Yeah, when I was like looking through Halloween specials to cover, I was like, you know what? We haven't dabbled with Cory Matthews yet. So now's the time. What better time than 2025 to talk about Cory Matthews, Topanga. Who else? Mr. Feeney.
Sean Hunter.
All
Eric.
the lovely characters. Who else?
Alan and Amy.
Jack, right? Jack is...
Nah, he's not in.
He's not
the
in
one
this
we're gonna talk
episode.
about. He's in later.
Yes, he's in later episodes. One of the Lawrence brothers. Not the actual family member, because that's Topanga's last name, if I remember correctly, right?
Right.
Yes.
Now, Chris, since you are a big fan of Boy Meets World...
The Boy Meets World aficionado of the three of us.
Of the three of us, you definitely. We're going to get into our own history with the, each of our own personal history with the show. But since you are the aficionado, the super fan of Boy Meets World, can you give us a little breakdown of what exactly the show is about in case a listener, which I highly doubt, is not familiar with the program?
Yeah, I hope they know. So Boy Meets World was a coming-of-age sitcom in the TGIF era of ABC. Probably like one of the main anchors of TGIF back in the day. Ran from 1993, 7 seasons, to the year 2000. Transcended the millennium. And it focuses, as you mentioned, Cory Matthews. It focuses on his life and, as I said, coming of age. It's the story of Cory growing up and the love and trials and tribulations that come along with that.
Now, did you watch this show from the beginning?
Religiously. Wow.
So 94.
I remember where I was for the series finale. Like religiously, I remember watching this show.
Got very dramatic towards the end there. From what I remember.
Yeah.
It was my show growing up. Like I remember I was at my grandma's house. It was a Friday, a TGIF Friday. We were at my grandma's house, and me and Ed were like, we got to finish dinner. We got to get either we're staying here to watch Boy Meets World, the 1 hour
we
finale,
need to get
or we're
home.
going home before it. Like we can't do this. Like we got to go. We were like, I don't know, 2000, so we were 11 years old, 12 years old, whatever we were. But yeah, I like my show.
Yeah.
Absolutely my show.
Now, Sammy, bouncing over to you.
Yeah.
Sammy, what is your relationship with Boy Meets World? Because I think you were quite young when as usual, you were quite young.
I was really young, but this is one of those one of those sitcoms that was played religiously up until, I want to say, like I finished high school. Probably like 2013. I stopped seeing it on when everybody got rid of cable. Essentially, they played it a lot up until.
I mean, the Disney Channel played it a lot.
Yes,
from what I remember.
Right.
Back
They
in
did.
the day.
Syndication, yeah.
So as far as the release of it, I at that point in my wee childhood, I was more interested in animated television programs. I didn't watch a lot of sitcoms until I got at least to the double digits. I didn't really care or understand. I know Louis watched it a lot. Obviously, not as much as you did, Chris. But I know Louis was a big Boy Meets World fan, and I also like the subject of the episodes. Like I was not in the preteen puberty time where like you guys were kind of growing old with him. You know what I mean? So it kind of it missed it for me. I will say the bits and pieces I do remember. A lot of most of like my boy girl crushes come from Boy Meets World.
There you go.
And that's a big part. That's a big part of growing up.
Yeah, so it makes sense that my sister is not that familiar because I mostly watched, because you watched what I watched for the most part. If it was on, I watched it when they were a little older.
Right.
That's what I remember.
Yes.
I don't remember little baby Cory.
Yeah.
Like the
because
second season, I don't really remember.
I watched, I think, from like season 3 or 4 on. So like the later half of the show.
Right.
Right. Like as they got out of high school. Like
when
from
Yes.
4, 5, 6 is like the end of high school and then college and
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember them in high school. I don't, because it started, they were in junior high.
Right.
So I watched it later because I felt like the show shifted to a more kind of, not adult, because it was still a teenager kid show.
Yeah.
But a more risque. There was a lot of innuendos and jokes and sex.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even what we watched, which was like the earlier seasons. I can be, spoiler alert, I can be completely wrong, but the finale of the program, was that the one where they're in front of the big globe? Was that the finale of the program where he proposes
Chris?
to her?
No.
That sticks out. That sticks out so much in my brain.
You mean in Disney, right?
Is that where they were at the castle or something?
Yeah. No. That was like
that sticks out so much in my brain.
That was like middle of the show. That was when.
So that's definitely where I stopped.
Yeah. When ABC was like bought by Disney at that time, and that's when
That
all
makes
the
a lot of
TGIF
sense.
shows took the trip to Disney, like Full House,
Yes,
Family
yes.
Matters. They all had like the Disney episode.
It's like in the story.
Yeah,
That's so weird, huh?
For me, one of the more iconic moments, and Chris can clarify the episode because I don't remember. I think it was like a cliffhanger. It was like an episode where you were like, wow, this is very intense. Topanga shows up, it's like raining and she's all wet and she shows up at his apartment. What was did they break up or she was gonna go away?
Season
to
4.
Move away. Season 4.
Season 4, Long Walk to Philly, part 1 and part 2.
Okay.
Topanga is her parents are moving out of Philadelphia to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And Cory and Topanga are like, oh, we're gonna make it work because we love each other, and then it doesn't, but Topanga gets to move back home with her aunt, played by the late great Olivia Hussey.
Yeah.
Yeah, like randomly, but yes, that's season 4. Last time, Long Walk to Philly. Yeah, Long Walk to Philly.
I remember that too.
I vividly remember Topanga.
The show was a big deal, dude. I these things stick out in my brain.
It's like I said, it was like the
showed.
juggernaut. It was the juggernaut show of the TGIF lineup. Like,
right.
It was because, like, Family Matters and Full House were kind of the same sides of a different coin. Like, they were ensemble shows about families, right? And yes, Boy Meets World was that, but it was more focused on the kids and less focused on the adults. And that was what kind of separated it from from the other shows.
And sometimes it did feel naughty to watch. You're like, they're talking about making out.
Yeah.
It got intense.
What's happening here?
But yes, that episode that I mentioned, that one always stuck out to me because I was like, damn, she stayed for him. It was very melodramatic. It was like
very dramatic.
She's all wet and stuff. It was interesting. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
She's staying with Cory. She's staying there.
I feel like it had this interesting crossover appeal in the 90s. Like, and looking back on it now, like fucking Vader was on the show. Like Yasmin Bleeth from Baywatch. Like, it had this weird crossover to like other areas of pop culture. It was a very like MTV centric show. Like, he was even on Singled Out. Like, Eric Matthews was on an episode of Singled Out. Like, it was you look at it, it is a time capsule of the 90s, right? And I think that's kind of why it's endured for our generation, especially,
Right.
One of my favorite episodes is the prom one, where the parents get a hotel room, and then Topanga and Cory go get a hotel room, and they're trying
classic sitcom mix-up,
trying to do their thing for the first time.
But their parents are at the same hotel.
But the parents are there, and
next door.
They're next door, and then Eric thinks that the dad's having an affair.
Yeah,
but
with Topanga.
He thinks it's Topanga because they switch rooms. They switch rooms by accident. That is a classic episode in my book. That is so funny. Eric is an idiot. That's basically.
Oh God! Don't fucking talk about Eric that way.
Listen, I will say this.
I
about
wanted
the
to be Eric.
No,
he was the comedic relief. Of the show.
Loved Eric, but if you notice, as the show went on, he got dumber.
Off a cliff.
It was like he was the dumb older brother, but then as the show went on, dumber.
They ran
and
with
dumber
it. They're like, this
and
is
dumber.
working for us.
It's like
This is working for us.
And then they introduced another character who was dumb as well to be his roommate. So I was like, okay.
Another
Eric
Poppy.
Yeah, there you go. Another Poppy. There
It's
you go.
Poppy after Poppy.
I just found that so interesting when I was like just revisiting this. I actually watched a bunch of episodes. I know we all did for reasons. But it's just interesting how the show kind of shifted. But that happens to all sitcoms. I feel like characters evolve as the show goes on.
I'll say, like, it's been so long since I've watched an episode of Boy Meets World start to finish. But I had mentioned to you, Louis, like, last night I just kind of let Disney Plus just play, and I forgot what episode we were fucking doing because I watched like 6 or 7, and I was actually shocked by how much, like, Danny and I enjoyed watching. I was like actually laughing out loud, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't just a white people sitcom. This is funny. I'm enjoying this.
I mean,
it's funny.
It's a good show.
It's good. It's good writing. Like, it's great, and it's like seeing child actors who can actually act.
I was gonna say that's the big. I think that's what the show had the one up on.
The comedic timing is so fucking good with him. Like
little
never
Ben
misses.
Savage. He's so good. Fucking funny.
We joke about like the Goosebumps episodes, the Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes, and all the episodes.
I always point out the acting stuff.
The acting is bad.
They're just kids. I'm sorry.
No, but this show and this episode specifically that we're going to cover, that we're going to get into in a sec, Ben Savage is very good in this. Like
he's a savage.
He almost comes off as like a little middle-aged man. Like,
he does.
Yeah.
And he's got
really like whip sharp timing. He's so good.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a location has anything to do with it, but he does have like a twang too to him, like an East Coast twang in his voice and stuff. And I don't know if that was just like something that's just how he is as a person, or it's something that they decided on, like, acting wise. But I was like, I feel like I know this kid.
I mean, they're all good. Even like Sean, Ryder Strong, Sean, his character is great as the best friend. Topanga,
best porn actor name can never make in porn.
Cabin Fever, Ryder Strong.
Strong.
Why did his parents name him that? But okay, whatever.
What a name.
And then you can't go, like I mentioned Topanga there just for a second. I mean, everyone loved Topanga growing up, so like that's like
we're not cool for that, but we have to say it.
What?
How much we love Topanga.
Everyone liked Topanga.
And we're not,
Everybody did.
Everyone,
absolutely beautiful.
Everyone was into Topanga growing up. Funny enough, recently on wrestling, I don't know if you saw, Sam. I know Chris saw this. So it was like the Raw Netflix debut.
Yeah.
And she was there with Eric. I forget what are their names, Chris? The actors?
Will Friedle and Danielle Fishel.
Yes, they were both there at the Netflix premiere of Monday Night Raw. That happened.
There was a lot of people there that don't give a shit.
It happened in the beginning of January. So they cut to her, to Topanga, and only she got a name credit underneath. Like, they only put her name.
But they're both in camera. They're both in the frame.
Like, in frame.
And he's Fishel. Will Friedle. He's like doing the peace sign and like proposing.
They talked about it on their podcast like the day after, because they have, like a rewatch podcast, and they talked about how that happens to them often. Like, Will Friedle is the least recognized out of the group of them.
I just thought that was hilarious that they did that to him. I was like, damn, poor Eric Matthews. he got the shit end of the stick there. WWE did not know who the hell he was. Everyone knows Topanga.
Not against Topanga. No.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Everybody, even WWE, loves Topanga. Like, they only recognized her in that one shot, unless that was like a rib. There you go, a wrestling term. It was a joke.
No. He said like it happens. Because he's older now, and he's got a beard and everything. He doesn't quite
he
like
aged.
the teen heartthrob brother, so
right.
But yes, that's enough yapping. Obviously, we're covering a Halloween themed episode. And the episode is Who's Afraid of Cory Wolf?
October the 31st, All Hallows Eve. I, Cory Matthews, leave this journal so that those who knew me can understand my terrible fate. For tonight, at precisely 9 o'clock, 8 Central, when the moon shines full, I will become the most terrifying of all creatures, the werewolf.
So Who's Afraid of Cory Wolf is season 2, episode 6, and it aired October 28th, 1994. Few days shy of Halloween, just the way I like it. That's how it should be.
A perfect Halloween episode.
I feel like when you release I hate when we covered, I've said this on the show a million times. I hate when we cover shows where it's like either like 2 weeks before. I hate when it's like 2 weeks before Halloween or after, which has happened.
I hate November Halloween episodes.
Yeah, it's the worst.
They bug the shit out of me.
I love when they pick the perfect date. So just a couple days before the big day.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I bet you that TGIF lineup was stacked with Halloween episodes that season.
I guarantee there was probably other Halloween specials. You're right. The whole night was probably Halloween specials that I'm sure we'll jump into in the future.
Aww.
I'm sure there was like at least 3 other shows.
It makes me so sad.
Damn,
That
why
doesn't exist?
Why that TGIF doesn't exist?
Now in my ripe age of 33, everything makes me so emotional. And watching an episode of Boy Meets World, I cried like twice.
Oh my God.
For no reason. I'm like, oh, I just miss these days.
Yeah.
This is where we're at in life now, I
The
guess.
nostalgia hits.
Crazy.
The nostalgia is hitting hard. So, the episode opens on a rainy Halloween night with Cory writing in his journal. He's using a quill. And I'll describe where that quill is in my likes. So we'll talk about that later. That's a great joke. So he's writing. It's a great gag. So he's writing in his journal. He's detailing how he believes he's turning into a werewolf, and that at 9 p.m. is when the full transformation will happen. And he explains to Sean. So before I go any further, this episode bounces back and forth a lot between flashbacks.
Kind of a frame story style,
Yeah.
It's like him home with Sean in the house and his parents and stuff, but he's explaining
the day before or the last 24 hours.
Right.
What led to this very moment, that Halloween night when he's going to turn into a werewolf.
Yeah.
And he's explaining to Sean how this happened. What circumstances led him to thinking he's becoming a werewolf. Now, what happens is he goes out to take the trash, and you got Mr. Feeney out there, who's their neighbor. Also, I guess throwing out recycling, I think is what he's doing, or garbage.
No, he's taking in his recycling. He's bringing it back inside.
Yes, there's another gag that plays into that whole thing. He's there's like a bush shaking and like noises and growling you hear. And he reaches into it, I guess thinking it's his dog or a cat.
No, Feeney tells him that there's a news report of an escaped wolf from the Philadelphia Zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah, but doesn't he think it's another animal?
Yeah.
When he
his
reaches,
sister.
yeah,
He
his
thinks it's
sister.
his
He thinks
sister.
it's his sister.
Morgan.
So yes, like you said, and it's Morgan, the sister. So there's been an escape of wolf from the zoo, and he sees the bush moving, and he thinks it's his sister. I don't know why he thought it was like an animal or another, like a pet or something like that. They don't have a pet, right?
No.
It's a family without a pet. Bizarre. So he reaches into the bush, and we get this POV of something lunging at him.
Cool little Sam Raimi-esque shot.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird when it plays into what it actually is, or what because it's like, in this POV, you should have seen what attacked you.
Right.
So this thing attacks him, and he thinks it's the escaped wolf.
He gets bit.
He got bit, and that's it. And 9 p.m. exactly on the dot, he will become a wolf man. So also Eric, Cory's older brother that we talked about, that WWE forgot about, it doesn't kind of help with this because he's sort of egging on this fantasy. He kind of keeps kind of bugging him, shows him a National Enquirer, which is all BS news, and he kind of falls for it. So he's playing a prank. He's going along with this idea that Cory is becoming a werewolf, and honestly is the reason why Cory's convinced. His brother doesn't help him at all. His parents, when he confronts them, he tries to convince them that he's a wolf, and they're just like not listening, and they're like, they kind of brush off everything he's saying. He's
growing hair in places he never had hair before.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because there's a running gag throughout the whole show. This goes back to the Mr. Feeney with his bringing in his recycling, where some robbers, there's a rumor that some robbers snuck a diamond ring into a soda can. Mm-hmm. So Cory's father they bought a bunch of soda and they're opening the cans, shaking them up, opening them, looking for the ring. And then Mr. Feeney is also reason why he's bringing in his recycling. I guess it's insinuated he's also, because he even shakes one of the cans.
And it's in this whole thing, they're also telling Cory, like, hey, don't overreact because you heard something from someone and this is but they're all playing into this other fantasy.
Yeah.
It's like a good gag, kind of jumping back to see the parallels of like what the adults are buying into and then what Cory's buying into with the werewolf transformation. And then, like I said, Eric doesn't really help because he just kind of continues on. There's a lot of dog jokes in the episode.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like hair, ones. A lot of like four paws, using a dog bowl to eat. Like there's just a ton.
Sean tells him that he wants to take his sneakers and he's like, what good is it without a pair of four?
Yeah, it's just a lot of silly dog jokes, wolf jokes throughout the whole thing, and puberty, which we'll get into as well. So Cory, again, this is all flashback because it goes back and forth. He heads to a fortune teller at a yogurt shop. So it's a yogurt shop that also has a fortune teller in the back. And her name is, and Chris, you're going to have to correct me. The fortune teller's name is Madam, what is it?
Ospieska?
Madam Usmanaska?
Uspinaskaya.
We all butchered it. We all suck. We did not get that right.
That's like a reference to Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's
something. It's a character in Frankenstein.
The whole scene is a Wolfman reference, like Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman, that the Universal monster, because he goes and visits
Uspinskaya.
Chris is still trying.
I can't read that. Anyway, it's Phyllis Diller.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
let's call her that.
That's it. That's what we'll leave. We'll leave it at that. So the whole scene, like I was saying, is it's a parody of the fortune teller scene from the Wolfman, the Universal monster film. And even the I forget his name, but the fortune teller, her brother, I think, is the other guy. The guy in the front. He's even putting on like a Bela Lugosi accent because Lugosi's in the original Wolfman. So he's they're making fun of that whole situation. So the fortune teller predicts that all these strange urges and cravings are going to happen to Cory, and that someone he loves or that cares about him, he's going to kill. Yeah, love isn't being said yet. They're way too young.
They said specifically a woman, though, a girl, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's obviously Topanga because we know the deal with them. So he ends up running out because he thinks that she's honest, and even the fortune teller, she's a little kind of like hokey, like she's money hungry, and she guesses a bunch. She compares him to Billy Joel at one point. That's what she thinks he is or he looks like. It's probably one of the lamer gags in the whole episode. So he ends up leaving. He goes home, and there he begs his parents to buy silver bullets and a gun. And obviously they don't because they think he's crazy. And then Cory tries to convince his father to use a silver frame and throw it at him as fast as he can into his heart. And he doesn't as well.
Because he wants to break the curse.
Yes, he wants to break the werewolf curse. Yeah. And here Cory's dad explains hormones, shaving, going through changes, basically the puberty talk. That's
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of honestly, it's a little bit. It's a great scene, but it's also
It's
a
a
little odd.
It's a fun like allegory.
Analogy,
on puberty.
yeah.
Yeah.
The whole episode's an allegory for puberty because he
Right.
gets bitten by this animal, and at the same time, is he supposed to be like 12 or 13? I'm guessing in this season.
7th
Yeah.
grade, junior high.
Yeah, so it's like he's growing up and he's getting these
Right.
feelings and these changes and all this stuff. So the dad basically is telling him what's happening, and he still doesn't buy it. He still thinks he's turning into a werewolf. So Cory heads upstairs. Sean is stealing all of his stuff because you mentioned you don't need 2 shoes anymore because you're going to have 4 feet or whatever.
Pause.
Yes, there you go. Pause. And Topanga shows up after he tells Sean, like, don't let her see me. But she walks right in dressed up as a damsel, but not one in distress. She's just a damsel, not one in distress. And the clock strikes 9 p.m.
The full moon.
The full moon. He does not turn into a wolf.
Oh,
And now,
shucks.
everything's all good. He's not a wolf. And it's a romantic setting, I guess, because of this. And he kisses Topanga.
Under the moonlight.
Under the moonlight. Very romantic, very sexy, even though they're like 12. And he kisses Topanga.
It's the age.
Yeah, it's the age. He kisses
the age.
Topanga and everything is good.
Yeah.
Later on in these,
my God.
literally,
I'm gonna cry right now.
later on, you literally hear
happy
the
for
audience,
them.
like it's one of those situations. But yes, later, Feeney tells Cory that the wolf never actually left the zoo.
So
it's
funny.
It's like eating
That
a
made
bird.
me laugh so loud.
Isn't it like eating a cockatoo or something?
Yeah.
He says?
Yeah.
They found it in
They
another
found him eating a
enclosure.
cockatoo.
He's like, it's eating a cockatoo or something. And Cory hears another rustling in the bushes, and he goes to check it out. What is it? Is it another mysterious, cryptozoology creature? No, it's a bunny, which he picks up, and then he realizes that's what scared him the entire time. Was the
bunny.
goddamn little bunny. Picks it up. But for some reason, this is the angriest bunny I've ever heard because the bunny growls.
A very demonic
A big
growl.
ass bunny
Yes.
too.
It's like a growling bunny. Cory drops the bunny on the floor, runs away in fear. And that was Who's Afraid of Cory Wolf?
The search for the missing wolf continues, and with today being Halloween, police report a number of prank calls from people claiming to have seen wolves and even werewolves.
Werewolves. Isn't that silly? Isn't it?
Sammy, we're going to start with you. What did you think of this episode?
I loved it. It was so good.
What-
It's so funny. It just like every fucking punchline hit. Every punchline got me right there in the gut. It was so funny and so silly. I loved it. Do you want to hear like some moments in particular that I really
things that you loved
okay,
about this episode.
top of my list are the lightning strikes. I don't know if you've paid attention to that, but like it's like every time there's a suspenseful moment or he references himself being a wolf, it like zooms into him and like lightning strikes.
Yeah.
There's like
Out of
actual,
nowhere.
no matter where
Yeah.
he is, if he's
Yeah, yeah,
outside, inside, in the kitchen. I love that. I thought that was so funny. And I love that it worked so well in the story, like the timing that he's going through puberty around Halloween. I
Yeah.
feel like that correlation between the two, I think, is like kind of rad. I thought it was really cool. It was really funny.
I do love how it just so happens to be Halloween, the night he thinks he was bitten by a werewolf.
But he's actually going through puberty, like you said. He's growing. He grew a few chest hairs.
I mean, there's a
has
lot of like hair,
appetite.
like mustache, chest
Yeah.
hair in places where hair doesn't belong.
Yeah.
He like literally says that in the
Yeah.
episode. Chris, what do you think of this episode?
Oh, I
can't wait to
absolutely
hear
love
this.
it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Some of the best like little jokes, I think, like in any Boy Meets World episode. Like
So good.
when
So
he signs the letter that he's gonna leave for his parents, and he signs it
Oh,
AO.
AO.
and he goes AO, and he goes ow. That's just so
And he does
fucking
that
clever.
throughout the whole episode. Oh.
Yeah, it's just such. And then like when he's talking to Mr. Turner, and he hands him his keys, and he's got the pentagon,
in
his hand, and he goes,
notes.
"Pentagon or pentagram?" And she's like, wait, whatever.
Either way.
Just like
She could hear him, and
she can hear him.
Thoughts.
Yeah, it completely in another location. Just like little jokes like that make the fucking episode. It's just such a great episode.
That's so funny. Those are the two jokes that I wrote. The only two jokes I actually wrote
they're
down.
so good.
Is the AO and the Pentagon.
I mean, it's a good like parody of the Wolfman. Like it has all the like beats of that story with the fortune teller and him trying to, and the pentagram, and in this case the pentagon. And then having all that, and then him sort of like hearing her, which is funny because some of these stuff is like so it's a flashback, but he can still hear the person. So that's like, it goes to show that the story is constantly changing.
He's an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, and if you think about it, this is the perspective of a 12-year-old, so it's obviously not going to be the most authentic story. Like you said, he's not what's the term? You just said
Unreliable narrator.
Unreliable narrator. You can't trust anything he says because he's a child.
Right.
One of the things I love, and I wrote it down here, and I didn't mention it in the breakdown, but the name of the yogurt shop, it's Frank's House of Yogurt and Summer Cult.
Yeah.
So
some.
And it's like
And some occult.
it's a little sign in all black with white lettering that says Summer Cult.
Yeah.
I also love how, and correct me if I'm wrong. So this is a question I have for you, Chris, because you know the show better than Samantha and I. Mm-hmm. So I love that Morgan, his little sister, who he thinks is in the bush. You corrected me on that. I forgot that that's what it was. She's dressed up as a little devil. Yeah, which I think is just a random.
Is it Problem Child?
I mean, no. It's
That's
just
what I thought. Because doesn't he have it in the movie, like his face
it's a
written
devil.
with
It's
a scribble?
it's like a classic devil costume.
Yeah, right. Like red with the horns.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not like a reference to Problem Child.
No, I don't
think so.
Okay,
now, Chris, did she disappear eventually?
Yeah. So, and it's like the actress got replaced, right? They recast the actress. And she just disappears for like maybe a season and a half. And then one episode she just comes downstairs and she's like, I was in my room for the longest time. And that's literally it. That's how they reference it.
As I remember that there was a little sister, but then she like sort of, it's kind of like what happened on Family Matters where like the little.
Right. Well, that one never came back.
No.
What happened? What happened?
She just wasn't in the episode.
She wasn't in the episode.
Yeah,
I guess.
But then,
I watched the show recently.
In the sequel series, Girl Meets World, they actually used both actresses that played Morgan and had them both on screen as Morgan at the same time. Like it was a really weird, like meta fourth wall thing. They would tag each other in and out and swap scenes.
That's so funny. I never watched one episode of Girl Meets World, but that's actually hilarious.
I just wanted to point that out because I was like, I could have sworn like in the later seasons
she disappeared. That's the thing. Like Boy Meets World had a lot of like meta jokes to it too that I think is part of the appeal of it.
That's another episode. We'll get into that.
I feel like Fresh Prince did that with the little baby. What was his name? Nicky. He's like, man, Nicky, you've grown, because he goes from a baby to like an 8-year-old between one season, right?
Yeah.
So like, it's always like the little siblings vanish and then or grow rapidly within seasons. So I just thought that was really funny, and I just love that she's dressed up as it's like her one, like she only has like 2 appearances or maybe even 1 in this episode. Yeah, and it stood out to me that they dressed her up as a little devil. In the episode. It's such a good one. And then all the gags with Eric, like him bringing out a dog bowl with food,
and Cory gets down and eats from the dog bowl.
Just so like yes, and he was like thanks, and just goes right down on all fours.
And then there's even like there's a really funny line where I think Cory tells his father, he goes, put some paper on the floor, I'll get the hang of it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Like that's another really good one.
So funny. It's the delivery that gets me.
All the jokes that land are because of Cory being literal, like taking literally becoming a dog. And the best joke, and I teased it because I kind of brushed over it in the beginning, is right at the top. So You got Cory sitting at the desk. He's using a quill for some reason. And there's a ton of feathers like next to
like on a pile
there. And he's writing in his journal. He's handwriting it. And then like the thunder that Sammy mentioned and all that stuff's going off. And I'm going to become a wolf at 9 on the dot. And the exact time, the area code and all that, the time difference he mentions. It's really funny. Then his mother shows up with like a duster missing all the feathers. And she's like, Cory, what did you do to all my, like, what did you do to my duster? And he has all the feathers. That's a great gag. Because even when I was first watching, 'cause I haven't seen this episode.
What's he doing with the quill?
Right, because like, where the hell would he get that?
Where would he get a quill, and why is he writing with a quill? And then you realize he destroyed
it's his mom's
her
duster.
Yeah,
the feather duster.
It's such a good, like, it happens so early in the episode. I'm like, that is like probably my favorite joke. That, and I do love the like Frank's House of Yogurt with some occult.
Some
the whole fortune
I love
teller.
that you found that so funny. I mean, it's so silly. I mean, also, there's like a little bit when he goes to see or he went to take out the trash. That I forgot to mention it. I did write it down, but Mr. Feeney says something along the lines of like, well, you can't bring that out here because of the werewolf. And he's just like, I had to. It started to move.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's like, again, he's just like this like dumb
trash
kid.
bag. It's so fun. He's so witty though. Like, it's
he's
so natural to me.
I mean, the writing on this show is sharp. That's like
Stellar.
obvious. You know, and then even like you said, we mentioned the allegory and kind of comparing puberty. It's a really smart way. It almost reminds me like what Ginger Snaps did before Ginger Snaps. Like that movie took like female puberty, and then comparing it to becoming a werewolf. This is doing it obviously in a more comedic sense.
Very comedic. Yeah,
you know, and my favorite shot for obvious reasons in this entire episode is when he looks in the mirror and literally
I knew you were going to say that one. I knew that.
There's like a
split second.
There's like a poor transition of his face screaming, and then it's all hairy, and he's a wolf man. So good. That is probably my favorite. Because I haven't watched this in a long time. When I put that on, I vividly remember seeing that shot in commercials. I think when they were advertising this episode.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's like
and you're expecting to see him as a werewolf the whole episode. And it's just like a little second.
Well, they delivered when you think about it. They actually delivered. You see him as because in reality, like, what is Cory going to look like as a werewolf? And you legit get Ben Savage done up as a werewolf. Because I think if they would have not shown that and like what he sees himself looking like as a werewolf, it would have been a cop out, in my opinion. To not
for
show.
Sure. I'm pretty sure that's the cover photo for this episode. It's just his face in the mirror. I'm pretty sure it is.
It's so good. Just just adding that in. Like, if they didn't, it wouldn't have felt fully like a Halloween episode.
Oh no, she's here. Here, come here, Sean. I need you to do something for me. Promise me you'll keep Topanga away from me. Swear by everything holy that you'll do everything in your power to keep that poor innocent girl from a terrible. Hi, Topanga.
Now, talk about what we liked. Any cons? Sammy, we'll start with you. Any cons, nitpicks, because that's what this is. This is a 22-minute long sitcom Halloween special. Are there any nitpicks?
I wish I had something bad
you loved
to
it
say.
that much.
More Topanga.
I guess that's...
you briefly mentioned the damsel in distress line, briefly. Yeah. Dude, she was ahead of her time for the women. She was a fucking activist, dude. She was out there representing.
Independent woman.
Paved the way. I have no notes. I loved it. So good.
Topanga needed no man to save her. She's just a damsel, not in distress. Chris.
Not the distressed kind.
Not the distress. That's what she says. Like,
that's what she says, yeah.
Not the distressed kind. Chris, any cons?
Yeah, I don't think I have any, honestly. Like, it's just a fun episode. What is there not to like about it, right? Like, nothing that stands out where I'd be like, this is dumb. No, I like it.
There's the Chris. Chris is like, there's nothing about this. This is every episode of Boy Meets World.
Perfect television. Best
10 out of 10.
Yeah, no, there's tons of episodes of Boy Meets World that I fucking hate, but this is not one of them.
No, it's great.
All right, okay. I got one nitpick.
You're going to say some stupid shit, aren't you?
Listen, Haunted Hangover's roots are in Halloween. I will admit, the Halloween vibes are not there 100%.
Yeah, not decorated well in the school. That I would say that. I think there's like one pumpkin in the school.
There's like two. So
saw a few in the background.
Yeah,
they're not in your face.
The fortune teller has a jack-o'-lantern behind her.
Mm-hmm.
There is a jack-o'-lantern. Yeah, the jack-o'-lanterns. There's one in the Matthews home. I think in their living room, there's one in the background. In the kitchen, they have a couple of kind of 90s beastal decorations on some of the windows. And at the school, I will say there's, you mentioned the school. There is like
in the back. There's like on the lockers,
the Halloween dance,
wall,
which is referenced a couple times. Hence why Topanga's dressed up as. I kind of brushed over that because that's a very minute detail in the episode. But Topanga's dressed up because the dance is happening on Halloween night, and they continuity. They do have it in the background. And Sean is dressed up as Cory for Halloween. We didn't mention that.
Yeah.
So I will say,
but it's such a subtle costume. So it's
Yeah.
and same thing for Topanga. Like it's a subtle costume. So like they could have been more Halloween-y.
And I only say that because when you watch like Roseanne Halloween episodes, which
Feels
again
like
they go all out.
Those are the all out ones. The Home Improvement,
Family
the
Matters.
Family Matters.
Yeah.
They go all out when comparing this Halloween special to some of those. Is the story great and Halloween-y? 100%. It's a fantastic kind of, story involving werewolves and the Halloween season. But the decoration department could have been a little bit better. I feel.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I guess you're not wrong about that.
That's my only kind of nitpick. And I only say that because we are a Halloween show. When we cover these Halloween specials, that's the
bread and the butter right there.
Yes, that's the bread and butter.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say the Halloween vibes are on point. There's a pumpkin, here and there, jack-o'-lantern here and there, couple of decorations, but it's not all there. Even on the outside,
needed a fog machine.
Even on the outside,
more
like
leaves, more crunch.
Yes, like the main that there's like a tree in the backyard.
Yeah,
it does have color, like the leaves are changing, but it's obviously a set. Which I dig when they do like a faux autumn setting, but they could have done more. I just feel like they could have done more. So, any final thoughts on Who's Afraid of Cory Wolf? Sammy, any final thoughts?
Okay, I feel like I say this every time we revisit any old show, and I'm not fucking lying when I say this, but I can't wait to watch every episode of Boy Meets World. I'm like fully diving into this. I'm following like 3 different Reddits about it right now.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to completely submerge myself in the Boy Meets World. I'm so ready.
Sammy's gonna dive headfirst into the Boy Meets World universe.
I need something comforting, and this is like exactly it.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, final thoughts. I think we all know what you're.
I was gonna say this is one of my comfort shows, and I'm so glad that we finally got to cover Boy Meets World. Mm-hmm. There's more. We could cover some more Boy Meets World down the line. There's some more episodes. And I think like hardcore Boy Meets World fans, if they're listening, know what we're talking about and where we're going to go next. But I'm glad we finally got to cover one of my personal favorite shows.
We'll definitely be tackling this show again in the future. Seems like we all enjoyed revisiting Boy Meets World. This is a solid Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Minus my nitpick. You guys know what it is. I like the concept of Cory thinking he's turning into a werewolf and just trying to convince everyone, including himself, that that's what's happening. And it's a nice kind of Halloween night. Eat some popcorn, sit back, enjoy with your honey. Well, hey,
with your Topanga. Topanga.
With your own Topanga, there's a little romance there at the end. And yes, very solid. A good time. I love it. And I, too, will be diving head first in the world of Boy Meets World after revisiting this episode.
What's this?
It's the Pentagon. I got it this summer in Washington.
The Pentagon?
The sign of the pentagram will appear in your hand.
The Pentagon or the pentagram?
Same difference.
So that was Boy Meets World, Who's Afraid of Cory Wolf. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Blue Sky, Facebook, all of the above at Haunted Hangover. Head over to hauntedhangover.com where you can find links to everything, including our Patreon page, where you can gain early access to episodes and bonus content.
And if you can rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And as always, remember, the best cure for a hangover is
More
booze.
booze.
Catch you guys later.
Boy Meets World.